Hello and welcome to Maths with Jacob. This lesson will focus on problem solving part 7. Drawing a diagram. Sometimes it is a good idea to consider drawing a diagram to solve a problem. This can be particularly useful for visual learners who prefer to see something in the form of a model, chart, sketch, or any other similar representation. Example 1. John and Mary are a married couple and had 2 children. What are all the possibilities? The solution. This problem is the perfect example where a diagram would be very helpful. This problem is a bit tricky, as we will now see. Okay, so for the first child, we know that we have 2 possibilities, a boy or a girl. So that's why I've chosen 2 arrows to give us the first possibility of a boy or a girl. Now, what I've assumed here, and I didn't have it in the problem, is they don't have twins. Okay, so they do not have twins, they have one child, and then they have another child. Now, if the first child is a boy, then the second possibility is a boy or a girl. There it is there. However, if the first child was a girl, then the second possibilities are a boy or a girl. So you can see we have these branches here. That's the starting point, so that's where we started. And to list all the possibilities, all we do is follow these branches along. So we have boy, boy, that's that one. We start at the beginning. Boy, girl, that one. Girl, boy, this one. And girl, girl, that one. Now, I mentioned earlier that this problem is a little bit tricky, which it is, because some people might say, well, there are only 3 possibilities. You can have 2 boys, 2 girls, or a boy and a girl, or one of each. But you have to remember that you can have them in different orders. That's why you have another 2 here. Boy, girl is not the same as girl, boy, because you have them in different orders. So the tricky part of it is, some people think you only have 3 possibilities, but there are actually 4, because order is very important. So there are 4 possibilities. Example 2. The letters A, B, C and D are placed in a hat. One letter is drawn and placed on a table. A second letter is drawn and placed next to it on the same table. What are all the possible 2-letter combinations? Okay, here are the 4 letters in a hat. Not a very special hat, but it'll do. I suppose I should have a little rim here, shouldn't I? But that'll do the job. Now, what happens is we draw the first letter. Let's assume the first letter was A. So here it is here, A. After you draw the first letter A, it is possible that the second letter could be B, or it could be C, or it could be D. So there are 3 possibilities when you draw the letter A first. Let's say you drew the letter B first. You have BA, BC and BD. So they're the 3 possibilities when you draw B first. If you drew C first, they're the 3 possibilities. And if you drew D first, they're the 3 possibilities. We can see that there are 12 possible 2-letter combinations. So the answer is 12. Example 3. If 3 coins are tossed on the ground, one after the other, What are all the possible results? Here's our solution. Now this is a little bit similar to the first problem we did when the married couple had 2 children. It's very, very similar. Let's see how it's similar. If you toss the first coin, it is a possibility that you have a head or a tail. So if that's the first coin that you toss, you could have a head or a tail. If the first coin was a head, then the second coin can be a head or a tail. If the first coin was a tail, then the second coin can be a head or a tail. So they're the possibilities when you toss the second coin. When you toss the first 2 coins, you could have a head and the third one could be a head. And all you do is you keep going along those branches. So up here you have the third possibility. And each of these 3 possibilities here come about after you've done the first 2. So you've done head, tail, or tail, head, and tail, tail. Then you do the third possibility. Now let's have a look at the next slide. I've repeated the diagram here. So the diagram has been repeated just for ease of reference. Now, what we do, we go along these branches. So we travel along that branch there. That gives us head, head. Then we go along that branch there, and then we come over to here. So that gives us head, tail, which is this one. Then we go along that branch there, then we come down here, then we go up there. So that gives us head, tail, head. And we continue along in that manner, and look what we have. We have 8 different possibilities. Now remember, all these possibilities are different because you have different orders. You might say, oh, here we have a head and 2 tails, and here we have a head and 2 tails, so they're the same. Well, they're not, because the order is very important, and that's why there are 8 possible results.